CFM Radio, welcome. We are live.
And officially in October now. So
Indeed.
I'm going to adjust the jams, as needed.
Oh,
so we got
yeah.
some Friday the 13th for the NES playing right now.
And I'm about to throw up some Bleak Faith Forsaken for the spookiest B-roll that you've ever seen. Because, guys, it is officially spooky season, like Drix said. Welcome to CFM Radio. It is Wednesday, my dudes. I'm your host, Vector. With me, as always, is the excellent DJ Benham, a.k.a. Drix. Drix, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Coming to the end of another league of pinball. There's finals this weekend.
Whoa! All right, so I gotta ask right now, are you prepared?
Oh, never enough, but
Of course.
The itch to play pinball is always strong.
Hey, you can never be too prepared for a competition, right? There's always that little bit more practice you could get in, the little bit more game knowledge, the little bit more tricks, one more trick or two that you can learn to get the edge out in the game. Because man, you gotta, when it's game time, there's no looking back.
Yeah, you're either the type who believes in the mojo of it all, or you've got it down to a science and geometry and consistency. Hard to put up the same big score twice in a row, or even 3 times.
Yeah, listen, as someone who goes I've been pushing a little bit into Magic the Gathering, as everybody knows, and you know what? I gotta say, Drix, I'm someone who likes to do a lot of limited play and a lot of drafts and sealeds. Getting more than one win is deceptively difficult. I mean, I normally average about 3 wins per draft run, but you know what, man? Even I get blown out. I get blown out at least. Yeah. I get blown out at least 1 in every 4 drafts. You know what I mean? I can have a great deck. I can have a bad deck.
Could go either way. But speaking of blowouts, I think that's how I ended my last Earthbound stream, getting kind of wiped and taking the free travel back to civilization.
But Drix, that was a hell of a stream. That stream was epic. It was over 3 hours, right? 3.5 hours?
No. It was like two and a quarter-ish.
Okay, no, it was like 2. I'm looking at it. It's like 2:25. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
It felt really long because, my God, you were fighting everything.
Yeah. It was a lot of jungling, if you will. And, got to fight Puke. And the fly honey did not work on him.
No, it did not work on him. Puke, turns out Puke was not the least of your worries, but he was definitely not the toughest cookie that night.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel the difficulty ramp up towards the end now, and it's cool. I'm digging it. The dungeon that I left off in is confusing and fun in its own weird Earthbound way. So.
And man,
Starmen everywhere.
Yeah, I was about to say, not to mention your main run-of-the-mill enemy is the Starman.
Yeah, and man, when Pooh showed up, just Deus Ex Machina and took out Puke, that was pretty. I was not expecting that, and Earthbound threw me yet another curveball.
You gotta love those. You gotta love those weird, quirky moments. That game is. I gotta say, as much as people love to harp on about Earthbound is so strange and quirky and has so many weird moments, it does, and they do stick out, they are memorable, but I think that game actually has a lot more heartfelt moments and moments that kind of make you take a step back and think damn,
Buzz, man, rest in peace.
I mean, not just Buzz, man, Paula's whole thing, dude. Pooh's whole story, just the character,
meditation station.
Yeah, right. It goes away, comes back, Deus Ex Machina, that game is awesome. It's got a lot. People love to say, "Oh man, it's so wacky," and it is wacky. But to me, for my money, that's not the thing that makes Earthbound stand out. And it's one of those things. If you've been following Drix playing Earthbound, again, this is one of his bucket list game guys. He hasn't gone through the whole game yet, or before in his life. So seeing all this stuff, it really reminds me of the first time I went through Earthbound, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
All of this
I mean,
is
after
like,
all,
boom.
They did name it Mother elsewhere, so.
Exactly. Hey, you know what? Mother is a great
Nothing's more
series.
emotional than Mom.
Right. Mother is a great series, and it makes me sad that we will never, ever, ever get to see the third installment as a localized product.
No. There's some ways around that, though.
Oh, of course. But you know what, Drix? You know what else makes me sad?
Oh, what is that?
Losing about 3 hours worth of progress.
Yeah, that happens.
And that's exactly what happened in my Tuesday stream of Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. Oh my god. I grinded the shit out of that game, Drix. I was going through all the enemies. I went through like Shoddy a few times. I went through Mai drops a lot of good birds. If you're looking for a cheap fusion, Skull Redbird's pretty good. Pegasus drops some strong monsters. I really do want to farm Yami Bakura, but bro, I don't know how you get through Yami Bakura's bullshit deck, because all he's doing is dropping 3,000 defense point labyrinth walls and 3,000 defense point millennium shields. I'm sitting here looking at this shit. I'm like, bro, I only have one dark hole.
Not enough to get by.
Literally nothing in my deck can stand up to 3,000 defense points. It's so frustrating. Like, I feel like I gotta deck the guy out somehow, but I just don't know how that's gonna work. So it's one of those things where like you stop. I stopped trying to farm that. I started trying to farm other things. I thought I had my deck in a pretty good place. Tried to continue the story, and then I lost. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, man, I'm not playing a game made post 2010.
Nope.
There ain't no auto saves up in this bitch.
No. Pretty retro goldmine of you.
Yeah. Yes, it was absolutely a highlight, or if you like to see people rage, definitely check that out. Because I was like, my God, when it hit me, I felt like I was just gonna throw the damn PlayStation out the window. But you know what? We pressed on. We're gonna see I'm gonna do a little research and see if I could focus my my card acquisition. Do a little bit of research into who drops what, right?
Yeah.
So that way, like, I could just farm maybe with a little bit of a purpose, and then maybe we can keep pushing through the story. Because I gotta tell you, Drix, this little tournament arc that with modern day Yugi, Joey, Taya, all the main people that people might know from the anime, like that modern day arc is actually like, it's like right before the midpoint of the game. Like, the midpoint is when you actually go back to the past for the first time, and then you go through the thing, like you go through the world again. Yeah, and then you go into like the final area of the game. So like I'm like right at the midpoint, or like right before the midpoint, because the midpoint, when you start fighting all these ancient mages, like a meadow mage and like the sea mage and all these kind of things, those guys drop the good stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, that's on the Retro Goldmine. All of this, guys, all of our gameplay, twitch.tv/CFM on Twitch. Definitely make sure you're checking it out over there, because if you don't want to miss these golden moments of rage and euphoria and genuine discovery.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm discovering a lot.
Yeah, hey, you know what? In Earthbound, there is so much to discover. And I gotta ask, so you're at the point, really quick before we move on to the news, you're at the point where you pretty much have you're pretty much towards the end of the game,
Yeah.
At this point, right as you're getting into the meat of the climax,
Conclusion, little finale there.
How are you feeling about Earthbound, man?
Dude, I still like it. It's just still catches me by surprise, and like I said earlier, I feel like I'm just barely beginning to feel like the difficulty ramp, the concentration. There was a lot of good like saves in the last stream where that health bar was rolling back to 0, and I got out of the battle before, especially when the enemies start exploding and stuff too. Like that's this dungeon, really feeling the battles kick in and kick up a notch.
It really gets to the point. It is funny to watch you play the game because it's interesting. I never really thought of Earthbound as a game that you really could grind hardcore in, but watching you play and then like realizing like you're towards the part where the game should be hard and it's still really hard. Like
yeah, it's getting there. They add the right amount of mechanics so that even though it's turn-based, it feels pretty chaotic when you keep things moving along. And sometimes I like to coast on auto fight because it knows when to heal more often than not. Actually, you run out of psychic power. Actually,
kind of a funny thing. Again, another funny aside. Kind of an interesting thing to think about how Earthbound had a really nice auto battle mechanic, and now that's pretty much like a mainstay of mobile gaming.
Yes, the idle battles.
Idle battlers. But anyway, I think we have done enough idling of our own, and Drix, I think it's time to get into the news.
Gaming news.
Yeah, video game music and news.
So, Drix, we're going to start things off with Ubisoft. And, Ubisoft, we've, few weeks
back,
talk
about them for better or worse.
For better or worse, they've got they had a big release in that, in the Star Wars game. You're seeing right here, the next big release they've got, the Assassin's Creed Shadows game. But Drix, Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's been delayed.
Oh no.
Star Wars Outlaws. According to the investor report just last week, Star Wars Outlaws, per Yves Guillemot, CEO, has underperformed.
Yeah. Just coasting on Star Wars games, huh?
I mean, it sounds like they can't even coast on the Star Wars game, Drix, because you've got analysts saying that they are backing into numbers of the Star Wars game merely breaking only over 1 million units sold.
Yeah, those are not great numbers to be putting up. I mean, if you're the likes of Ubisoft.
So it's interesting to think about all of this happening in at once. It all kind of seems kind of like a train wreck, and it has led many to believe that the delay to Assassin's Creed Shadows into next year, directly competing with Ghost of Yotai by Sucker Punch, is because of performance issues that were plaguing their last release in Star Wars Outlaws.
Huh. Little couple of bugs under the carpets there.
But Drix, according to the website Twisted Voxel, that's just not the case, because from twistedvoxel.com, the headline is, quote, Assassin's Creed Shadows is reportedly a, quote, buggy mess leading to delay. Splinter Cell remake was internally delayed.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I'm sad to hear about Splinter Cell getting mixed up in all this, but yeah, maybe they're taking a little bit more time to QC things around old Ubisoft.
This article, in which they pull from a Portuguese YouTube video, reads, quote, during the latest video on the TVPH YouTube channel, host PH talked about the sensitive situation at Ubisoft after the surprising delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows. a source within the company told them that the decision to delay the upcoming game was because it was a, quote, bugged mess.
Haha. All right. Doesn't seem to be flying perfectly now, does it?
Does not seem like that. And you know what? Again, track record of the last few Ubisoft games, Skull and Bones, kind of a no pun intended, kind of a bare bones experience, along with Star Wars Outlaws, which was, you could see there, one of the biggest memes the week that game came out was all the bugs that were caught on camera from various streamers.
Yep. We live in that time where you put out something bad, it can make its way onto the internet over and over again. So,
and that's
you
forever.
sell even 1 million copies. That's the million opportunities to have somebody just, maybe have a good laugh.
So when we read further, quote, it was further mentioned that the decision to delay Assassin's Creed Shadows was also influenced by the poor sales of Star Wars Outlaws. Ubisoft executives believed that the latter's buggy state was one of the reasons it didn't sell well, and they didn't want to see the same happening with the next entry in the Assassin's Creed series. The company expects Assassin's Creed Shadows to sell 10 million copies, much like previous mainline entries. That's a lot of copies, Drix.
Yeah, it's okay to have faith and believe in things, and even if it's selling your game. Yeah. Ugh. I mean, it is a long-running franchise. There's been a lot of installments, and will the fans show up for this one as well?
And that's exactly what I thought, or what I'm thinking now, Drix. And for all intents and purposes, the last Assassin's Creed game that they tried to make like sort of a return to form didn't quite land like that with the fans, but the sales itself were pretty decent. And here's the thing. So, Drix, I listened to the Sifted podcast yesterday, and this Portuguese YouTuber sounds a lot like what hosts Shane Satterfield and Matt Kyle were talking about, and it sounds like that they were confirming and corroborating the statement, with Shane Satterfield on the show saying, quote, we know people behind the scenes. And later on he clarified that they know people, they just aren't really at liberty to speak on the issues specifically. So
yeah,
it sounds like these sources, they got pretty close to the people at Ubisoft. And it sounds like that internally there is a decent amount of strife.
Yeah. Sounds like, some big game companies going on right now and going about their business. And man, I mean, it's a devs industry, really.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to have a dev's perspective on this. So yeah, it seems like the guys at Sifted, might know somebody who's signed a NDA or they're not disclosing.
And that's
anything.
That's kind of how you have to see it, right? You kind of have to see, like, these guys they're skirting really close to the edge right here. And you know what, Drix? You got to just kind of check out the track record. You got Yves Guillemot over here. He's the CEO. He's saying that Star Wars underperformed. Then he's saying that he's saying that it might be because of it might be because it was buggy, or executives saying that it was buggy. And then before that, you had Skull and Bones. And I don't know if people forgot or anything like that, but Drake, Skull and Bones, we might talk about Concord, and we might talk about $400 million, $800 million, whatever, right? Skull and Bones was an $810 million game that took about 8 years to make, and they had to get a loan from the government of Singapore to complete the game.
Yeah, belly flopping into Skull and Bones? Is that really?
Yeah.
What they're still kind of recovering from that. Things might not be looking great if you're looking at some of these numbers and performance record as of late.
So, there's a lot of talk about Ubisoft and their current position and saying, like, oh man, maybe, it's because of Yasuke the samurai and how his role in the next game. Maybe it's because.
Old or not setting.
Yeah, maybe it's because. I'll tell you one thing. Yasuke is gonna be in the fucking game, guys. Sorry, 4 months is not enough to remove a whole fucking character from the game. Then you've got Star Wars Outlaws. That game was buggy. You got Skull and Bones being a flop. Last time you saw Skull and Bones, the player count was it wasn't terrible. It was about 800,000, no. But that's not I doubt that's the $810 million dollar kickback that they were return that they were hoping for from that product.
Well, pressure's on, maybe.
I believe it might be, and I think it's interesting. It's an interesting choice to go head to head with one of the best or most recognized feudal Japan stories and franchises in the last 5 years, in Ghost of Yotei being the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima. So we'll see how it goes for them, We'll see what's going on with old Ubisoft. I guess if you guys really like Ubisoft and you really want them to, keep going, and you really want, pre-order that Assassin's Creed Shadows and go play some X-Defiant, I guess. Like,
yeah, the Edo Japan kind of market is going to be a little saturated around that release day. God,
you're right. I'd like, not to mention those games, right? But we just had a couple more this year. You had Rise of the Ronin. You have Kunitsugami. Like, there's a lot.
Yeah, good setting.
Yeah, guys.
I've been playing Neo too. Jeez.
Guys, if you're into feudal Japan, you got plenty to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Either that or Yakuza.
Oh man.
Yuga no Gokuto.
Oh man, the new Yakuza game looks great. The pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Oh boy. Yeah. It took long enough for them to get this wacky, and it's going to be a good time.
Oh man, it's going to be wacky. But you know what, Drakes? It doesn't matter what you might think of this next game that we're going to talk about, because even though it might look a little wacky, might have a character creator that might have a little bit of questionable decisions in it, no one can deny that Dragonage the Veilguard is a huge game that a lot of people are anticipating.
Oh yeah, it's a nice return to some classic BioWare, hopefully.
Well, we'll see if it ends up being that. You're seeing it on the screen right now, the trailer to Dragonage the Veilguard, and Drix, we got a big name who's contributing to this big game.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah. And from VGC, Video Games Chronicle, the headline is, quote, Hans Zimmer releases his Dragonage the Veilguard theme. From the article, quote, the Oscar-winning composer, who has composed for films such as Gladiator, The Dark Knight, and more, has composed the game's main theme. Drix, they got old Hans Zimmer on the job.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I always love to hear, fine compositions, only the finest for my video game experience.
Only the finest.
You know me, I'm here playing video game music every week. I would not have a taste in classical music if it weren't for things like Final Fantasy and Nobuo Uematsu and stuff. So yeah, it's good to see some of the musical prestige that game soundtracks deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and Hans Zimmer, he's no stranger to video games. His music he's been a composer for games, other games as well, such as Crysis 2, Arena of Valor, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, he's got his fair share of game soundtracks under his belt. So, welcome back. This is going to be a good one.
Welcome back, Hans. That's good. It should be a great and engaging theme. Really should bring you that epic atmosphere that people who want to play a game like Dragonage so desperately crave.
Yeah. In fact, I think I'm going to start running the theme right now. It's got a bit of dynamics, being a classical score.
And you're listening to the new Hans Zimmer, Dragonage the Veilguard. We are CFM. This is CFM Radio. We'll be back.
CFM Radio. CFM Radio.
CFM Radio, we are back.
Wow, what a score. Dragonage, the Veilguard, Hans Zimmer's main theme. I sure felt different once it got all spooky there for a second.
Hey, you know what? Like I said, I thought it really evoked that epic feeling. That feeling that like this is a big grand thing going on. You know what? I was saying it to you during the break. It even made that Concorde footage look epic.
Haha, yes. The power of music.
The power of music. But you know what,
Especially
Drix?
a grand classical score like that.
One of the
fine composition.
One of the few things that can compete with such power is the power of joy.
Yes, indeed.
And wouldn't you know, some of the most joyous occasions are new game releases, Drix, and we got plenty of them for you this week.
Yeah, some cool stuff actually. Pretty artistic. I love seeing the artwork.
Hell yeah. And double check on that one because the first one is Kill Knight.
Yes. Knight with a K.
Kill Knight, from the Steam page, quote, Kill Knight is an ultra-responsive, arcade-inspired, isometric action shooter, condemned to eternal sufferance deep within the voids of an eldritch arena. You must wield an arsenal of devastating weaponry to obliterate swarms of otherworldly horrors and master the demon within. Kill Knight hits PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch tomorrow, October 3rd. That's a Thursday, Drix.
Yes, I, for one, am definitely excited by the prospect of isometric shooting.
And you know
Smash
what?
TV style. You know, like if Diablo or Hades was all about blasting. A little more like Doom on the demon blasting.
And that's exactly what Kill Knight is looking like. Kill Knight's looking like a crazy, hectic, wild ride through hellish terrain. And you look at this trailer.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just shooting. You're cutting and clawing through everything. There's so much happening on screen.
Face the hordes. Mm-hmm.
That is Kill Knight. Comes out tomorrow for your favorite platform. Next up, we've got Wizard of Legend 2.
Yes. It's a double down on the isometric action from Humble Games.
Absolutely we are. And from the Steam page, quote, face perilous magical trials in the fast-paced roguelite follow-up to the acclaimed original, featuring co-op and vibrant new 3D visuals, master new arcana elements, experiment with spell combinations, and become the next Wizard of Legend. The game releases into Steam Early Access exclusively tomorrow, October 3rd. Drix, I don't know if you played the first Wizard of Legend game, but this game is pretty cool.
Yeah, you've had some experience with that one?
Yeah, the first one was like a little bit of like a 2D, almost isometric platformer. This one looks a lot more action-based.
Yeah, and again, both of these new releases, I'm just loving the artwork. There's like so much cool shading and stuff going on, a lot of fun animations.
Hell yeah, Wizard of Legend 2 definitely looks like it definitely looks like a much more polished visual.
More than,
yeah. It's got a pop.
Pops more than Diablo.
Way more, because the original Wizard of Legend was fully 2D, and this 3D look is really, really nice. It really translates that original feel of the old school OG Wizard of Legend, and like I don't know. These animations really, really feel to me like they do justice to the idea and to the aesthetic of the original and what they were going for, because they're not super over stylized. Everything was really simple, and while I do miss the pixel art mastery, these 3D effects, they're way cooler than I could have thought, than I could have imagined them to be.
Yeah, it looks like they're really taking advantage of like high frame rates and stuff. And if you have like, nice monitor playing on PC and stuff, get all your color settings dialed in right. Enjoy.
Absolutely. That's Wizard of Legend. Comes into early access tomorrow on Steam exclusively, October 3rd. And finally, Drix, we got something a little bit different.
Yeah, no, going from isometric to something a little more strategic.
And what we have is Vestiges, Fallen Tribes. And Drix, from the Steam page, quote, as head of your clan, face opposite tribes in strategic solo missions and PvP battles. Build and improve your deck of cards. Make the right tactical choices and place your soldiers on the battlefield so that they destroy the enemy. Can you lead your people to victory?
Man, I love the tabletop, aesthetic choice that they've made here. You're really just like two dueling generals, but with your little almost Warhammer pieces, and a deck of cards.
Absolutely, it's like and it really gives you that like god-like fantasy, the god versus god fantasy. And you know what, Drix? I gotta tell you, it should be really, really fun. I don't have a VR headset or a VR capable PC headset, but it must be pretty immersive when you're playing this in VR.
Yeah, actually, like a first-hand dueling planeswalkers or something.
Really, getting like really trying to nail like what you just said, that like god versus god, planeswalker versus planeswalker aesthetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really trying to nail that. And you know what? Looks pretty cool. If you guys have a VR headset and you're looking for a game that like has a hardcore PvP element, you guys might want to check out Vestiges, Fallen Tribes. And Drix, another thing about this game, even if you don't have a VR headset, you could still play it regularly, mouse and keyboard.
That's awesome. Yeah, people getting the best of both worlds, and an advantage whether you have the hardware or not.
Exactly. And you know what? That game, really quick, lost my place on this. It does come out tomorrow, October 3rd, exclusively on Steam. So we got a couple of Steam exclusives. One of them is early access. The other one is in early access right now. The full version releases tomorrow for Vestiges, Fallen Tribes. So any of those games you're looking at, you're looking for something brand new to play, you got a lot of stuff tomorrow, especially if you're a PC gamer.
Yeah, we like to carry the best of video game produce. The freshest.
The freshest. Every week, we get those fresh picks. And you know what? For everyone else, might want to check out Kill Knight.
Yes, get excited. Definitely for fans of Hades.
Yeah. If you're looking for like a more like, I guess, fast-paced and like more graphic or gory Hades, and Kill Knight definitely looks right up your alley. Like,
takes place right in hell or below it.
But they say that you can go far if you can play in hell. But Drix, I gotta know what we're playing in the background right now. What is this?
It's a song called Moonlight Tango. Oh man, I just misplaced the name of the game that it's from. I think it's from Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Moonlight Tango, Rhythm Thief, and the Emperor's Treasure. We are live, CFM Radio.
CFM Radio.
And we'll be back.
Let me give you some context here, boys. I love my mother.
I won't let you fucking do this to me!
Hold still, please. This is a very delicate procedure.
You can't! Please!
I want you. Yes, I do. In a dirty kind of way.
CFM Radio.
CFM Radio, we are back.
That song was called Special Kind of Love from House of the Dead Overkill. And I misspoke earlier that the Midnight Tango song was from Dark Chronicle on the PS2. That was the song before that.
Dark
before we took
Chronicle. I don't think
our
I've ever
last
heard of that
break.
game.
Yeah, but there's some tango involved. So I always like to check out games based on the soundtrack. Surprise.
Hey, you know what? Makes sense. Sometimes those soundtracks, they can lead you into a compelling experience.
Oh yeah, and speaking of which, right now we're listening to Elvira, the arcade game, on the Commodore 64. So, would you believe there's a whole saga of Elvira games?
I can believe that.
Not just
days,
pinball either.
Those days during the Commodore 64 and like the Sharp X and all of those other kinds of wild consoles, they all had these weird games on them.
Yeah, and there's one that's like more of a role-playing game. This one says the arcade game, but yeah, there's a nice little handful of retro Elvira with fun covers on them, of course.
Hey, we love talking about those retro things. Especially since we listen to it all the time here on CFM Radio. But Drix, is it CFM Radio if we don't talk about Xbox?
No, it's just not. What will we do? Like, should Game Pass fail and Microsoft exits the gaming industry?
Whatever.
What would we talk about then?
What if Phil Spencer wasn't here to fill our headlines with all this wildness? Then what in the world would CFM even be here for?
Yes, we wouldn't be what we are today without, headline vulturing Phil Spencer
and all of his wild escapades at Xbox. And Drix, this Monday, Xbox, the mothership, released they released a sort of, I don't know how you would say it, like an instructional or a
it's an outreach of sorts.
It is we'll call it like that. It is an outreach from their Xbox Research Center.
Yes. The big focus group farm, big data mine, huh.
Drix, whatever it is, it seems like they're opening even more channels for both players and developers to give feedback. And, I gotta say it right before we jump into here, because this release, this outreach from developer.microsoft.com, it actually, when you get it, we're gonna get into the weeds on this a little bit, and it actually is a little bit shocking, and I'll save my opinion for the end, but we're going to jump right in because the announcement is, the title is, quote, How Xbox Research is Shaping the Future of Game Development.
Yeah, we're going to get into the Fable Witchwood of it all.
Fable is definitely the apt word because, Drix, when you go and check this out, again, the outreach release is called, quote, How Xbox Research is Shaping the Future of Game Development at developer.microsoft.com. It's a lengthy read, but I wanted to point out just a couple of key things. First is right here in the intro, quote, Xbox Research, a division traditionally focused on player experiences, has recently expanded its scope to include the community of Xbox game developers. The objective is to listen to developer partners in the Xbox ecosystem and partner with product teams to bring forward insights and data that could help improve future tools and services. By directly engaging with game creators, Xbox aims to get the data that'll help address pain points and enhance the experience of partners across the spectrum of disciplines involved with bringing games to market. So, right there, interesting how they coming right out and saying it, pain points, directly engaging with game creators, data acquisition, and a direct call to help all of these people. So clearly they know something may be amiss with developing games for an Xbox.
Yeah, they're just, they're maybe a little too, they look inward a little too much. Maybe they just, they're searching for solutions and, getting outside of their comfort zone a bit, I guess, when, instead of talking to players and asking for their survey and feedback.
Or in this case, developers.
Yeah, it's about time they extended that to the developers and the people. What way to bring better experiences to your players than working with the developers and how they make games.
And it's interesting to see that apparently the channels for developers to leave feedback for working on an Xbox or games on an Xbox or software on an Xbox, whatever you want, it has at least been a bit tight to say it, to speculate from at least putting it right. That's what I get from when I read this. It's a little bit tight, and since right here at the top they say they are now expanding the scope to include developers and players, so the research has solely been on the player experience so far.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, they apparently have a research team, but man, we've gotten at least like 3 or 4 pieces of feedback, maybe not like constructive criticism specifically in all the, technicalities of it all, but I think we've had at least 3 or 4 different stories of developers saying like, no, this is bad. It's bottlenecking our whole, output.
Yeah. We've had a couple of developers come through, and then there's also developers who come through and refute those claims and saying, we don't know what you're talking about. You had famously the Larian was saying, we can't get this damn game to run on the Series S.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe not a wide enough knowledge base out there, or maybe nobody's sharing the right information around
or
on
maybe,
how to get around these things. But
or maybe Microsoft is just, maybe the Series S is just a potato.
Yeah, could be that also. Could be a hardware thing. Or, how many other developers are going to say, skill issue, get good at developing.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of what I say. It's one thing to say that, like, a developer isn't cut out for creating a game on a next generation console. But when you're a developer and you're over here saying, hey, listen, my game runs fine on PS5. It doesn't run great on Xbox. And you have other developers saying, haha, skill issue. I don't know how much weight that holds when you say skill issue, when you have so many developers kind of saying, hey, yeah, well, I might as well just not do it.
It's not convenient.
Yeah, it's not exactly. It's just not convenient. And read it when you read further. A little bit, it gets a little bit more, I would say, concerning because, quote, the new program will employ a variety of research methodologies, mirroring those used in player-focused studies, but tailored for developers. Dr. Deborah Henderson, principal user researcher for Xbox, details the approach. Quote, we do all sorts. It really depends on the question we're trying to answer. Common methods are interviews, usability, playtesting, surveys, and flighting. She said, it's the same sort of studies we perform when testing games, just on tools and services. Now, Drix, we were just talking about it. Usability seems like one of these seems like a big thing these days. So many devs talk about the difficulties developing for the platform. Like we were talking about Larian. If you've been listening to CFM Radio, there have been more than a few devs that we've reported on that have said, hey, this is just a little bit too much, or a little bit too inconvenient, like Drix was saying.
Yeah. Definitely some Twitter X, words being thrown around.
Even on the business side, right? You've got the developer for No Rest for the Wicked, previously of Ori and the Blind Forest fame, saying that Xbox being on Game Pass and developing games for Xbox, yeah, it was okay, but it didn't really net him any long-term gain.
Yeah, if you have that Game Pass hate in your heart, you know, maybe this is a good channel to focus that into. Especially, hey, developers, you know, we'd like to receive some sort of compensation. And, you know, instead of the devaluing process that like subscription services might have, you know, the effect of.
Oh, but Drix, don't worry. That's not real, right? That's just the industry changing.
Oh yeah, it's just changing. The times they sure are changing.
Phil Spencer says the times they're just a changing.
Yup. Bob Dylan, Phil Spencer.
Yeah. So, you know, we'll wrap this up on we'll wrap up CFM Radio in just a few minutes, but you know, we're gonna read a little bit further because it seems like a problem they have identified here is another one that we've been kind of poking at for the last few minutes in that right here, quote, perhaps most intriguingly, the program welcomes input from creators who aren't necessarily bringing their games to Xbox. Henderson explains this open door policy, quote, if you are making video games, we're interested in hearing from you. If you aren't on Xbox, we'd love to know why. And honestly, if you're using our competitors' products, you probably have a great perspective we could learn from. So, Drix, I gotta... and here's the deal, right? They pretty much just mean...
You're not wrong.
They pretty much just mean PlayStation, right? Like our competitors... Are we competing with
We would
Steam?
like to be better than PlayStation. Please help us. We would like your input on how to be better than a PS5 Pro or not.
How do we do this? Fellas, what are we doing wrong?
Yeah, don't try to be Nintendo. Just beat PlayStation.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, oh man, our competitors. Well, is your competitor Steam? I mean, not really. Like, you know, you pretty Steam runs on Windows, right? You know, so like,
yeah,
it is what it is.
More
right
or less
there.
already got that one in the bag.
Yeah, we got it. You know, and well, again, you were just saying it. Nintendo? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, if you can't beat someone whose flagship hardware is less powerful than an iPhone 14, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
it's not the size; it's how you use it.
Tell that to Microsoft.
Yeah, the company that's just too darn big, they're closing studios. Yikes.
Just, jeez, you know. So,
oopsie. Good job making that award-winning game. Here's a pink slip.
Award-winning.
The industry
games,
sure is changing, isn't it?
Guys, it's just the industry.
Who could have done this?
Hey, games are changing, and players are just gonna have to adapt, Drix. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like your
so will Ubisoft.
Your favorite studios are gonna shut down, Drix. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Spencer says, you know, you just gotta suck it up because like these games, they don't come out of thin air, right? And like, there's no world in which making better games will ever translate to more console sales or people not like foregoing their PS5s for an Xbox. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's pretty sure it's just exclusives, my guy. More or less, in my experience, you know, and as a console war veteran, I think it comes down to exclusives. But you know, I didn't go to college for that or anything.
No, you know, we never. Hey, listen. Here's the real deal, right? The real deal is, at the end of the day, Xbox is just in a pickle. I agree with Phil broadly. The industry is changing. Just look at Ubisoft. Like, you know, there are telltale signs of the big boys. They are trying to pivot wherever they can to make themselves a little bit of extra cash to float on into the next quarter. It really does seem like a mad scramble for everything. But it really, Drix, does this not beg the question as to, you know, you got Sony basically throwing away money like the Joker, burning it in a big pile. And you've got
Nintendo PS5 at a loss or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You have the PC world. You know, PC gamers, we love you. You are the mustard race. But like, guys, this this hardware situation you've got going on, is pretty wild. Like,
Yeah, it's
you
always
know,
been about the hardware.
it's always about the
hack or
hardware.
be hacked.
Not always is it about the hardware, but it can't. The compatibility, all of the different problems that you hear with new games coming out on PC. The industry absolutely is. PS5 Pro, any version of the PS5 Pro that you get, you could get the gray limited edition PlayStation fucking 30th anniversary bullshit one, or you could get the regular one, the regular PS5 Pro, average Joe Pro, I guess. And
Yes.
none of those have a disk drive. So
Yeah.
like,
You already need an accessory for it.
yeah, the industry is a changing, I guess. But at the same time, you kind of have to see the forest for the trees. The Xbox is going, I hate to say it, folks, I don't mean to throw a curse out there. They're going nowhere fast. Sony has all the money in the world.
Big Sega vibes.
Big Sega vibes. Sony has all the money in the world. The winners of the console war, as per Phil Spencer, you know, they're just inclined to wipe their ass with all of their cash, it seems. And you know, Drix, here's the question.
Ubisoft needing to check their work a little better before they hand in their test.
Just a little bit. And Drix, you know, it just
delay if needed.
For me, I gotta ask the question: is just Nintendo on top of the world right now? Is that just like
A little bit,
Yeah, is that just like the thing?
dude. Mario. Like,
Yeah, I guess.
Never
Like,
out of style, I guess.
I guess.
Go on down to Super Nintendo lands. You know, Xbox and Sony aren't going to get a Super Nintendo land.
No, we're not going to have a Horizon ride anytime soon. Despite
No.
popular belief, we're not going to have a Horizon Zero Dawn fucking experience at Universal Studios. Sorry. Like,
No Helldivers indoor roller coaster.
no, even though that would be badass. But but it's a really strange era that we're in, and the more and more I was talking to a couple of people around me about gaming and things like that, and I'm like this. I used to feel like I could kind of tell when the game industry would ebb and flow and what could kind of come out, what was kind of coming around the corner. You could kind of feel it if you watch the news cycle, right?
Yeah.
Today, I feel like Drix, we could wake up tomorrow and Ubisoft could say we're being bought out by EA.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
A lot of merging, a lot of taking overs. We've reported on a walkout. You know, like that was last week on the show.
Some Depression era shit in the video game industry.
What a Wild West time.
So, you know, it's definitely a historic moment in time for the industry that we find ourselves reporting on. But we want you to we don't want you to sit here and follow the hype, jump on these hate wagons or these apology wagons. No, all of the information is right here. We love to say, hey, CFM Radio, we got all the answers, right? Come on here every Wednesday. But guys,
you know what's up.
Everything is out there for you. Play games.
Yes.
You know, there are so many great games, even great games from last year, that you bump up your PlayStation membership just one more tier just for a month. Try out Dredge. Try out Remnant 2. Try out these games from yesteryear. Fuck it. Get a Gamefly account. Rent the newest games. You know, it might take a week or so to get to you, but it doesn't really matter. You're still playing the games. Like, there are so much open information that you shouldn't really need to have someone tell you what games you should be playing. You should be able to go out, look for one, and be like, I want to try that, and just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like what they say about music. You know, games aren't fun anymore. Nobody makes good music. It's like, you're just not looking hard enough, buddy.
Yeah.
There's good stuff all around. Boy, these games sure are pretty these days.
But yeah, boy, these games sure are pretty these days. I will leave our audience with this though, Drix. If you are one of these people who's caught up in the most insidious construct of the gaming industry, and that is the endless hype cycle. The endless AAA dog chasing its tail hype cycle. I feel for you.
That finds its way into a lot of industries.
I feel for you, my brothers, but you must break free. Go in and play some Dredge. Go play Rogue Legacy 2. Play the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Try these games that are just out here, and they're just the products and the products of love that they are, and the visions of the creators that they have found themselves to be. And don't worry about what these 10 million, don't worry about the 10 million expected sales for these overblown, overproduced. I can't believe I can even say that about a video game these days. Overproduced.
Yeah, right. Overproduced games. Never thought I'd hear it.
Yeah, like, you know, these games that don't really offer you the value, but they only want continued revenue and continued engagement from you. Play the games. I used to not believe in this phrase, respecting your time. You know, you should, when you're playing a game, you're making time to do it. But honestly, these days, guys, if you're playing a game and the resource that you need is either a 3-hour grind or $5 away, maybe just put it down.
Yeah, be weary of their tricks, but also we don't need any sorry, sad Sakaguchi apologies for him apologizing of the thousands of hours that people have played Super Smash Brothers. You know, we don't need those crocodile tears, sir. We enjoy our time gaming.
Yes, we enjoy our time gaming. And you know what, Drix?
Time well spent.
I think it's time for us to go enjoy some games. So.
Oh yes, I've got a Neo Death Fest awaiting me.
Hey, you know what? But when the Death Fest is might suck to go through, but when you get over that Death Fest, it feels amazing.
No, I'm loving every minute of it.
Hey, you know, I've got to go. I'm going. I might just play some. What would I play? I gotta look. I'll check out my PlayStation.
You're gonna get Wozlered?
Maybe. Hey, you know what? I have been putting off practicing Marvel 2. I've been just jamming on Marvel superheroes and X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Maybe I will just jump into Marvel 2, go into the lab and knock the rust off. Yeah.
I wish you a Justin Wong encounter.
And I wish you a great moment of valor. Up against
Hopefully
the boss.
When I play pinball. Hopefully in the Pinball League finals this weekend.
Yeah. Absolutely. Actually, you know what? All my valor
That would be
to
the
the
time to
Pinball
do
League.
it.
All my valor to the Pinball League. Get in on that and win. Like.
Yes, I'll use the CFM Radio Spirit Bomb. Thanks,
Hell
everybody.
yeah. CFM Radio Spirit Bomb. Everybody, that does it for us here tonight. CFM Radio, drop us a like, give us a comment. Always remember, chat during the show. We love when you chat. We'll call you out. Next
Tell me
week,
if you want to play newer music.
Hey, you know what? Listen, we've always got the best video game music, but if you guys will have a request, let us know, because every week we're here Wednesday. The only thing that's not going to be here next week is Mother Monday. Drix takes his week off, but next week we will have more Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories on Tuesday for the Retro Gold Mine. Twitch.tv/CFM on Twitch. Go give it a follow if you haven't already. All the gameplay that you could have ever wanted. The VODs are up. Never miss a day. And Drix, I think that'll do it for us.
Yep. See you next week.
See you next week.
K